Welcome to the Fantasy Six Pack Waiver Wire Show for Week 2. This show comes out in conjunction with the Waiver Wire article, which you can find live right now on the Fantasy Six Pack. Just like in that article, I'll be going over the top 6 waiver wire additions for the week. If you want access to the other names on the list and all the award-winning rankings, the projections, betting advice, DFS advice, the Discord where you can get access to myself, any other member of the staff, you just got to go on to the article or any of other parts of the Fantasy Six Pack. And right now there is a nice little promo code, which we got showing right there in that corner. Use that and you can have full access to everything on the Fantasy Six Pack website. With that, let's look at the top 6 options for the waiver wire of week number 2 here. And we'll start with the quarterback position. And we are going with Geno Smith, the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. And the name of the game here for me is volume, passing volume that we get now. So Mike Macdonald came in as the new head coach of the Seattle Seahawks this offseason. And with him, he brought Ryan Grubb. You may not have heard of Ryan Grubb. He was the offensive coordinator with the Washington Huskies last year. That is the same Washington Huskies offense that led to Michael Penix and Rome Odunze being top 10 overall picks, and Jalen McMillan and Jalen Polk being other wide receivers that were drafted. So this offense can sustain a lot of passing volume, and that is what is happening right now in Seattle. We saw it yesterday, 44 pass attempts for Geno Smith. Yes, the game went into overtime. He threw the ball 6 times in overtime. It wasn't like they weren't already throwing the ball up and down the field. And just like he had at Seattle, this offense has 3 dynamic receivers. Just like he had at Washington, the Seattle offense has 3 dynamic receivers. So it's not Odunze, McMillan, and Polk, but it's Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. We saw Tyler Lockett take off in week 1. Yesterday, DK Metcalf had over 100 yards and a touchdown. Jackson Smith-Njigba had the best game of his career. And I think we're going to see a lot more of this. Through the first 2 weeks, the only team passing the ball at a higher percentage of the time is the Raiders. And that's because they can't run the ball. Seattle can run the ball too if they want to. But this is a team that wants to pass. They're finally, for the first time in his career, Geno Smith has had someone that's really going to trust him to throw the ball and air it out. And I think he's going to deliver. The next 3 weeks versus Miami, a lot of talk about Miami right now with Tua's injury, and we hope he's okay. But the Miami secondary is really rough right now. It's bad. Jalen Ramsey looks hurt. We'll see if they can stop him. I don't think they will. The next week's at Detroit. If you can block Aiden Hutchinson, which, wow, that guy is amazing. But if you can block Aiden Hutchinson, the way to beat Detroit is also passing the ball. That's their struggle. And then the Giants. I think you can start Geno Smith the next 3 weeks after that. And I think Geno Smith might make a run at being a top 12 quarterback this season. You can pick him up off your waiver wire right now, and you should be looking to do that. Let's go to the top running back here. We'll get him on the screen. Carson Steele. So if you didn't see it yet, yesterday, Isaiah Pacheco got injured on a carry. We heard that he was leaving the game in crutches, and today we learned after additional imaging that he fractured his fibula. He will be out 6 to 8 weeks. It's tough. It's really tough. There are so many injuries early in the season. I'm feeling them. Everybody's feeling them, I think. But someone's going to have to step up in a very good Kansas City offense. Now, we'll go over some of the different options here. So a lot of people talked about Samaje Perine. Perine had 9 plays yesterday. He carried the ball 1 time for 3 yards. I do think that Perine will take the passing volume. I will say that. I do think he will get some more receiving work in this system, kind of like we saw from Jerick McKinnon a few years ago. I think that's where Perine will step in. Carson Steele had 13 plays yesterday, and he could have took 7 carries. Now, we only got 24 yards, and he fumbled the ball. Fumbling out of an undrafted rookie, that's not great. Don't love to see that. But the Chiefs stuck with him. At the end of the game, Pacheco was out. They were trying to isolate, and they kept giving the ball to Carson Steele. I think that's what we're going to keep seeing going forward. It has been mentioned that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is coming back. He's on the injured reserve. Ideally, he'll be back week 5. I've seen enough of Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the Kansas City Chiefs offense. They don't trust him. I don't think you're going to see Clyde Edwards-Helaire step up and get 15 carries a game. I just don't see that happening. I would be surprised. I think there will be weeks he's probably inactive, to tell you the truth. And then Kareem Hunt. Yes, he is visiting with the Chiefs today. We are now about 1/2 away from the week 2 of the NFL season being done. If Kareem Hunt was the Kareem Hunt that we've come to know in the past, he would not be a free agent through 2 weeks of the NFL season. He was awesome. He's had a history of being great. But if Kareem Hunt it was still as good as we think he is, he wouldn't be a free agent. So I am not worried about Kareem Hunt just stepping in and taking a bunch of this volume away from Carson Steele. And that's what I think we're going to get with Steele. I think he's getting 15 carries plus a week. And whether or not P. Ryan catches the passes or they do sign Kareem Hunt, whatever, I do think that Carson Steele is going to get all the goal line work for this team. So I am prioritizing Carson Steele as the top waiver wire ad in week 2, be it running back, especially if I need running back, because I think he's got a nice little 2-month stretch here where he's going to get a lot of volume. Let us move to the other running back on the list is Ty Chandler with the Minnesota Vikings. I think Minnesota is kind of quietly a committee, and nobody's really talking about it. Aaron Jones, through the first 2 weeks, Aaron Jones has 30 touches. 23 of those are carries, and 7 of those are receptions. Through the first 2 weeks, Ty Chandler has 21 touches, 18 carries, and 3 receptions. So he has 5 less carries than Aaron Jones. Now, the 7 receptions to 3 receptions, I do expect Aaron Jones to lead this team in receptions. He is a dynamic open field weapon. He has been in his time with Green Bay. He still is. Aaron Jones did go to the tent temporarily yesterday. He did have a really bad fumble. I think it was inside the 5. It was certainly inside the 10, but it was late. He had a bad fumble, and he just looked he didn't look as explosive as Ty Chandler. He averaged 3.6 yards per carry. Ty Chandler averaged 8.2 yards a carry. Aaron Jones, great career, but he's 30 years old. The only running backs that are older than him at this point are starting running backs that are older than him are Derrick Henry, who's a cyborg or whatever he is, with his ability to keep just playing at a high level, and Raheem Mostert, who, yes, he's supposed to technically starts, but Devon Achane is there and he's splitting work anyways. So Aaron Jones getting up there. He has 1,200 career rush attempts. He has 271 career touches or receptions. That's 1,471 touches. The only backs with more touches than that are Zeke Elliott, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, Josh Jacobs, and Saquon Barkley among active players. So Aaron Jones has gotten so much volume, and I think the Vikings are looking at this and saying, well, we're winning games. We're doing it efficiently. We want to save Aaron Jones. I think we're going to see Ty Chandler get more carries as the season goes along. I think it's going to get even closer to the point where I think there'll be weeks pretty shortly here where Ty Chandler is getting 15 touches a game. Aaron Jones is getting 15 touches a game. Aaron Jones will be more valuable because there'll be catches. We want the catches, but Ty Chandler should not be nearly as available as he is, because at this point, he's already proven that he can be a flexible option. And if he gets more volume, running back 2, I think that's within the realm of possibility here. The first receiver is Demarcus Robinson. So this is kind of by default. If you're a Rams fan, I'm sorry. Puka Nacua is already on the injured reserve. It looks like Cooper Kupp is likely to go on the injured reserve. I don't believe he actually is yet. But we need a top receiver in this offense. The Matt Stafford loves to funnel targets to one receiver. That's kind of been his thing in his career. Now, it helps when your top receivers are Hall of Famer Calvin Johnson, a possible Hall of Famer Cooper Kupp. But there are other times where Kenny Golladay had very viable fantasy seasons. Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, Puka last year. I did some math for this. There has been 11 seasons of 15 games out of Matt Stafford. In those seasons where he's played the majority of the games, or 15 or more games, his top receiver has averaged 137 targets. Awesome. 97 receptions. Averaged 1,385 yards and 8 touchdowns. Now that's a top 10 receiver easily. I don't expect that out of Demarcus Robinson. Through 2 games, he has 6 catches for 92 yards. But we saw that he can be pretty effective at the end of last season too. I believe it was Cooper Kupp who was injured at the time, and there was 3 games at the end of last year where Demarcus Robinson got 90% or more of the snaps. He had 2 catches for 44 yards and a touchdown in the first game, 6 catches for 82 and a touchdown in the second game, and 6 catches for 92 yards. And I think that's kind of what I'm expecting out of Demarcus Robinson. Somebody's going to have to get targets here. And if you told me he got 8 to 10 targets a game, I think that's pretty reasonable at this point. If he catches 6 of them for 80 yards, that's 14 points in a PPR. You get a touchdown, that's 20 points in a PPR league. He's widely available. He shouldn't be. There are other options in the Rams offense that could catch passes, receivers. If you're interested in those you have to join the Fantasy Six Pack to see those names on the list of the article too. But Demarcus Robinson is the top ad in this offense. They need somebody to catch the ball. The second receiver we will talk about this week is with the Minnesota Vikings. So their group of J receivers here. Let's start with Jordan Addison. Did not play yesterday because of a hip drop tackle, which the NFL needs to start enforcing better, but that's a different discussion. And Justin Jefferson left early with a quad injury. He thinks he'll be fine. I think he'll be fine. But I'm not sure it really matters. I think Jalen Naylor has carved out a role in this offense already, and this offense can sustain a third receiver. The first week, Jalen Naylor had 1 catch for 21 yards and a touchdown. Yesterday, he had 3 catches for 54 yards and a touchdown. Kevin O'Connell, the head coach of the Vikings, loves to throw the ball. Since 2021, so that's the 2 years that he's been the head coach of the Vikings and 1 year of being the offensive coordinator with the Rams, his offenses have finished 5th, 6th, and 5th in passing yards and 2nd, 4th, and 4th in passing touchdowns. Well, you're thinking, okay, well, 1 year he had Matt Stafford. That is true. He did. And 1 year he had Kirk Cousins. That's true. He did. So, yeah, he had some good quarterbacks. But last year he had half a season of Kirk Cousins and then a triumvirate of Nick Mullins, Josh Dobbs, and Jaren Hall. And he kept passing the ball effectively. Mind you, it wasn't that they were just out there chucking it. They were still effectively moving the ball. So even when every receiver on this team is healthy, I think we're going to see enough passing volume to sustain a third receiver. Now, so far they haven't had to because Sam Darnold's been incredibly efficient passing the ball. That will drop just because nobody can be as efficient as he's been. And we've seen just the last 3 years with the Vikings. KJ Osborne in 2021, 50 catches, 655 yards, 7 touchdowns. That was the 35th receiver in fantasy that year. A wide receiver 3. Were you probably excited to start KJ Osborne? I don't remember 2021. I doubt I was excited to start KJ Osborne, but that's delivering. 2022, KJ Osborne, 60 catches, 650 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So the touchdowns dropped a little bit, so he fell to the 44th wide receiver. But that's someone you want on your bench, and especially as bye weeks are coming up here, we see all the injuries. You need that. And then last year was a little fluky because TJ Hawkinson was in there, so he added to it. And technically, Justin Jefferson finished as the 3rd receiver because of some injuries. So I dropped down a little bit to count KJ Osborne, but 48 catches, 540 yards, and 3 touchdowns, which finished as the 64th receiver. I also think Jalen Naylor is considerably more talented than KJ Osborne is. And it's probably going to finish top 45 receiver. Is he someone you're going to want to play every week? Maybe not. But as we get to the point of the season here where we're going to need healthy bodies and bodies who can deliver every week, Jalen Naylor should be on the team. And for those of you who are in need of a tight end, we will go to the one tight end recommendation of the week, and that is Hunter Henry. So let's talk, speaking of KJ Osborne, right? The New England Patriots, all offseason, people were trying to figure out, okay, who's the top receiver here? I like Demario Douglas because he was already there. People like Jalen Polk. People like Javon Baker, the 2 rookies. KJ Osborne's there. What happens if it's Hunter Henry? I think it is Hunter Henry. He had 12 targets yesterday. They threw the ball 27 times. Let me repeat that. Jacoby Brissett threw the ball 27 times, and nearly half, 12 of them, went to Hunter Henry. That is a 44% target share. That's not going to happen every week, or he'd be amazing, but he caught 8 passes for 109 yards. He's run 52 routes through 2 games. There's no receiver that's ran more than 45. This is the top receiving option in New England for what that's worth. Is it great? Probably not. Do you expect blow-up weeks out of Hunter Henry? No, I thought we were going to get that out of Isaiah Likely, and he kind of fell flat on his face. And tight end, man, through the first 2 weeks, it has been so tough. Travis Kelce, who's been bad. Sam Laporte has not been good. Trey McBride had a good game and then saved it with a fumble recovery in the end zone. But if you just want safety from the tight end position, Hunter Henry is going to deliver that. This offense is going to be very conservative. They're going to want to get the ball out in a hurry. Hunter Henry is going to get volume of passes. Is he going to usually have 109 yards? Probably not. But if you told me that he had a lot of weeks of 4 catches, 50 yards, 5 catches, 60 yards, 8 to 10 fantasy points, you have a solid team around your team, and you just need a tight end that you can rely on, Hunter Henry can deliver that. Well, that brings us to the end of the second week of the Waiver Wire show. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, you can see the full article on the fantasy6pack.net. And if you want to see the rest of the names, not the just 6, there was over 20 other names I listed on the sheet with some notes on them. So if you want to see that, if you want to talk to me on Discord, talk to any of the other great writers on Discord, join up right now on the fantasy6pack.com. If you go back to the beginning of the show where you go right to that article, you'll see the promo code to get 15% off. Thank you guys and have a great week.